We're the AI behind the AI, where we do a lot of the cognitive work that AI can't quite do either yet or will never be able to do. So we do that. So my parents were missionaries. So I was born and raised in Indonesia on the island of Java. So I grew up there from 0 to 18. And I think growing up overseas is very fundamental to my upbringing and how I became entrepreneurial. My dad used to kick me out of the house when I was about 7, 8 in the morning. I wasn't in school, and I'd wander around from village to village, hang out with people, talk. I believe that was really formative in me building relationships, especially cross-culturally. And grew up more of a feral kid. You don't see very many feral kids these days. I'd rather go a slower growth than this hockey stick. The hockey stick is about you. It's not about your client. But I think at the end of the day, this is why I don't believe in hockey stick. Trust takes time. Trust can't hockey stick. It will never hockey stick.
He built a 25-year tech company, made 5 acquisitions, and never took a penny from outside funding. No investors, no trends, no BS. This is how Dusty Gulleson quietly built one of the most trusted names in digital transformation. Hello, Dusty. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Thank you so much for joining me. You have a fascinating story, and I'm going to go straight into it. 25 years is a long time to be on one subject, on one business. Why don't you just give me an idea of what Tectonic is and a little bit of the journey?
Sure. And journey it has been for sure. When we first started, we were a single person consultant. It was myself. I always joked that it was a consulting gig that went bad. We hired one employee and then the next and the next. We're up to 70 employees here in the States and about 130 offshore. I grew up overseas. That's why we have the offshore connection in Indonesia. But when we started as a custom CMS developer back in the day when there was no content management systems except for like Vignette and the big organizations that were costing millions of dollars. And so we saw an opportunity with nonprofits and associations, and we built our own content management system and sold it to them and managed it. And as those things grew, folks kept on coming to us for other things. And really, our growth has always been solving a problem that a client has brought up. So in 2003, we added our MSP into itondemand.com. It's probably our largest division now. We manage a lot of infrastructure for a lot of clients across the country. And then we started 2 SaaS products over the last 15 years dealing with automation for higher education. There's a lot of our higher education clients asked us for them. And then we built some really niche markets. One in multifamily housing where we deal with all their technology. So folks that manage thousands of apartment blocks, right? Things like that. And then because I grew up overseas, a lot of our clients came to us and asked us for some back office processing, some automation. We're the AI behind the AI, where we do a lot of the cognitive work that AI can't quite do either yet or will never be able to do. And so we do that. And so all these things have kind of blended together. We're a vertically integrated technology company where a lot of clients come to us and say, hey, we want one technology partner that'll help us with everything, the strategy to transformation to the implementation, management, DevOps, all the things that you would have in an organization. You're trying to make some major. Some clients come to us for a very small niche. Some come to us for the partnership across all of our different divisions.
So it sounds like it's been an evolution, which I love in business, that you're asking for something and you then deliver that. But before we get into that, you mentioned that you lived overseas. Can you just give me a little bit of a outline of where you lived and what that experience was like?
So my parents were missionaries. So I was born and raised in Indonesia on the island of Java. So I grew up there from 0 to 18. And I think growing up overseas is very fundamental to my upbringing and how I became entrepreneurial. My dad used to kick me out of the house when I was about 7, 8 in the morning when I wasn't in school, and I'd wander around from village to village, hang out with people, talk. I believe that was really formative in me building relationships, especially cross-culturally. And grew up more of a feral kid. You don't see very many feral kids these days. Kind of fend for yourself. Um, Growing up overseas, I was met with a lot of intercultural opportunities, a lot of folks from different countries, different ideas, all that. And my parents were very fortunate to be able to send me to an international school, which was really a great education. So when I came to the States, I was really, really positioned to do well. Also, you tend to have a great appreciation for opportunity when you live up in the third world. The States is just so full of opportunities. You can do
So
anything.
what countries did you live in?
Just Indonesia.
Indonesia.
You traveled around, of course. You're in Southeast Asia, so you go Singapore and Bangkok and Thailand and Malaysia and Philippines. So you get to see kind of a broad spectrum on third world.
And I've been to Indonesia many, many moons ago. I went traveling in Southeast Asia, and I went to Indonesia, and it's the largest Muslim country in the world, isn't it?
Yep. Yep. 300 plus million. Largest archipelago.
On
Yeah.
basically two big islands, isn't it? And then they've got you got the Gillies and all those down there, haven't you?
They have 13,500 plus islands, and the big islands would be Java, Sumatra, Kalimantan, which used to be called Borneo, and Papua New Guinea, and then a smattering of islands all throughout. I would say the majority of the population, or the biggest concentration, would be in Java. Around the island.
Yeah. And you said that you think it's had formative sort of experiences. What do you think it gave you that has been able to help you in your development as an entrepreneur back in the US?
I think great appreciation and gratitude for what the offerings are here in the United States. I extremely poor when I grew up, by standards in the U.S. Parents and missionaries didn't have a lot of money. When I came to the States, I was poor, but the American system allows you to start any company anytime, and I started a number of companies and really enjoyed the process. Growing up overseas, especially, my parents gave me an immense amount of freedom. Went out on my own. I was able to learn how to develop relationships, especially with folks that didn't speak the same language, and I learned the language. Learned how to communicate with different cultures. At my school, there was a large contingent of Korean, Japanese, Australian, and folks from all across the world, and that was an extremely beneficial part of my upbringing because I got to learn about other cultures, other people's upbringings, things along those lines. I think
How many languages do you speak?
I speak English really well.
Yeah.
Indonesian, when I get back to Indonesia, occasionally it comes back. So, not like riding a bike, but once you start exercising a little bit, you get it back. Yeah, but I'm not a fluent speaker for sure.
And you said about kids, which I think is really interesting. You said that you were a feral kid and you were thrown out at 7 a.m. and returned at 7 p.m. And as a kid, that was me in the 80s and
Yeah.
like 90s. That's how I grew up. You got kids now?
I have 3.
And how do you treat those kids now? Do you throw them out at 7 a.m.?
I wish. Different culture kids these days, but they like to stay home a lot more, which is nice. You get to see them.
Yeah.
And my eldest is more adventurous. She's been hiking in Peru and the Galapagos and things like that, but she's in college now. She's been a shepherd last year. And then my son, my middle kid, is very much a big gamer and hangs out with his friends. But, they go camping next week and whatever they're going to do. And then my youngest really is into design and things along those lines. She's more like me for my upbringing. So,
and the last question I've got for you regarding your personal story. When I was reading about you on LinkedIn and your website, you said you love bourbon, you love cigars, and you love straight talking.
Yeah.
So do you think that sort of almost anti-corporate has actually been a good selling point when you're working with companies and you're delivering with companies?
We have a saying in our company, I think it's pretty fundamental to companies. It's good communications, good documentation, good communication. And what that means is we're just very straight. We want to make sure that we're transparent in our communication. And I think a lot of larger corporations try to hide some of this stuff behind they're more in the sales format. We're very straightforward about what we do, what we accomplish. We go in great detail. And I think that has helped immensely. And, a lot of folks they want to have a hockey stick. You look at Instagram and everybody's selling you we'll get you to $1 million next month. We'll do all these things. And for me, that might be able to happen. Who knows? But what kind of company you're building that grows that fast? It's not sustainable. It doesn't have good people. It takes time to build a quality team and to have it well-oiled and to work together. And I'd rather go a slower growth than this hockey stick, because the hockey stick is about you. It's not about your client. And I think that really comes through in the process.
100%. And another quote that I got from you is start small, prove value, then scale. Now, why do so many organizations make that mistake and try and grow too fast? Right? What do you mean? What's the message behind for people that are listening regarding start small, prove value, then scale?
You look historically, right? You look at just how business is done or work is done. The craftsman would take years to build something. The furniture, if they're a junior apprentice, can build the best stuff. It takes time to get there. And we've lost that in this digital age. We've lost the idea of becoming very competent on the building blocks. And we try to go for the big things. And I think we go for the big things is because, we have hubris, we think we can do it. Two, I think there's a lot of greed involved where people just want to get the big sale and they want to exit. I don't think a lot of these firms that do work to grow in a hockey stick format actually are looking at, I want to become a very good organization at doing this. I want to become very good at this craft. And that's been lost. And so I would rather work with someone that has done something little by little over years. People come to me and go, hey, I have this hockey stick I want to get, or I have a degree, give me a great job, pay me a lot. And I'm like, well, let me see your experience. Let me see what you've done. Or we have vendors that come to us and say, we can do all this. And I'm like, let me see what you've done. Let's start small. Let's do a little thing one at a time. And then we can see what happens. And that grows confidence. And I think doing the small things from a sales standpoint grows a lot of confidence. If you do it well, it's going to make it easier to do more with them. And the long-term strategy is what are you doing business for, right? Are you doing it just so you make money? Yeah, we all have mortgages. But are you doing it because you actually want to care that you do good work and you lead good things in this world? And when you're young, you don't think that way. When you get older, you start to think a lot more like that.
Yeah, you do. If you're enjoying this episode, then do consider just taking 30 seconds to hit a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Only takes a few seconds and it generally helps the audience and the show reach new people. Right. You said also about hockey stick growth. Now, just talk me through. I've not heard that description before. Why don't you just talk me through what you mean by hockey stick and why it's not the ideal process for companies?
I don't think it's an ideal process for service-based companies, for sure.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is you can't really grow a hockey stick of growth in a service company because it breaks down on people. People are saying AI will replace a lot of that stuff. I use AI every day. I'm huge into it. I have actually Fable running right now, building something for business.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people are putting a lot of faith in deterministic tools and not actually creative tools at the thing. And a service-based business is built on the quality of the strategy and the understanding of the business. And you can't do that fast. It takes time to learn. It takes time to understand there's nuance. I used to, when I was younger and stupider, I used to tell people to speak to me in bullet points because they didn't have time to hear the whole narrative. I mean, hurry, let's go, let's go, let's go. And over time, I realized how stupid that was because the value and the true meat of the story is actually in the narrative. It, the deliverable is not a set of specs and bullet points. The deliverable is understanding the expectations and the hopes and, dare I say, dreams of the client that you have that's trying to accomplish a problem. And so that takes time to learn, to understand, to be empathetic, and to go through that. Sometimes you can do it fast, sometimes you can't. But generally speaking, it takes time, and you need to make sure you have a team that's able to be formed around the concept of a deep understanding of the organization. We try to tell folks we're not a mile wide with a ton of clients. We try to get a mile deep because that's where the real value in the relationship is and the deliverable. I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. It really does. And the other thing you mentioned just then was about being mission driven, and you like working with companies that are beyond pure. Not we'll have to make profit, we'll have to make a
Yeah.
living, but it seems to be a thread that keeps on coming through. Is like you enjoy working with mission based companies. Is that right?
I think the thing with mission-based companies that I really enjoy is that they're focused on something. Um, I think a lot of times you get to a client that just want to make money, and yeah, it's fun to like sell more, I guess. But when they're trying to accomplish a change or shift something, we work with a lot of higher ed that's trying to, recruit certain people into their universities or trying to give scholarships to folks that have never been to college. I think those are really life-changing, impactful things that it's fun to be part of because you're actually really changing lives for the better. Just doing it for trying to help a company get a hockey stick in their life, it's okay, but it's not as good. But I do think mission-driven organizations, because especially the nonprofits have limited funding, had a very keen objective that's really focused. It's not just easier, but it's a better partnership because if you're aligned with their mission and helping them get there, you're going to be far more successful. There are commercial companies that are very focused too, and those are fun to work with. I think it's the focus and the leadership of those clients.
Yes, I would agree with that. And what's your sort of like life cycle for working with clients? I would imagine it's quite long.
Very long. Our average client's over a decade long with us. We have some that are 30 years long and are close to that since we're our inception. But we've been with us since 2012. So big clients stay with us. A lot of universities stay with us. We don't just offer one thing and move on. We usually move with the client and help with strategy that they're trying to accomplish. So we have about 400 clients at any one time, about 280, 300 are active. So it's about our range.
And let's talk about the services that you provide. So they are many and varied, all within transformation and technology.
Yep.
So talk me through your biggest a service that you provide and like maybe your latest product that you've made.
I mean, they're all kind of, the main thing is they all can be integrated together with our biggest division is our itondemand.com division, which is a MSSP. We provide management infrastructure, service support, things that clients will need along those lines. So basically everything from help desk to large project transformations, implementations, things along those lines, cybersecurity, project management, etc. So that's a big portion of our clients. And our clients range from companies that have 5,000 endpoints all the way down to clients that have 3 endpoints that want to have a really good white glove service experience. That's probably more than 50% of our business revenue is coming from that department or that division. We do a lot in higher ed at various levels, mainly automation of processes. So our Orchestrate suites, and then our Orchestrate accessibility management software helps universities manage large volumes of tasks, responsibilities, obligations, document management, etc. That's a good portion of the business. We do a lot of digital transformation. All these things end up starting in our strategy section. So we do a lot of strategy, and part of the strategy is a lot of branding and positioning. So we have our VS Studio team that does a lot of interviews, helping the clients understand where they're going, what they want to stay, how they're going to do it, and that spills into their whole digital framework, everything from their website to integrations with line of business software, be it Salesforce or PeopleSoft or things along those lines. And then on top of that, we make it into the back office. A lot of these organizations, just talking to one where we do a lot of work for, and they're like, we have all these transactions that are really holding us down. I'm like, well, our offshore team can help you with that. So stuff that can be quite automated by AI or it needs to be assisting AI, we can do that. And you said our latest division is, of course, AI. We do a lot of AI automation, helping folks integrate it into our organization, helping them to understand it. It's a lot more education and a lot more dealing with helping position them ready for it, which is a lot of governance and compliance issues.
And so what does that strategy session with a new client look like for you? What's the sort of setup? What are the types of questions that you ask to make sure that you're able to support them and help them?
Well, regardless of what they come to us for, whether it's through the infrastructure door or through strategy or through AI, the first thing we want to know is their story. Tell me about your story, where you've been and where you want to go. Because that really is where the crux of it. Because a lot of folks come to us and say, I want this new website. And then once we learn their story, I'm like, that's actually not what you really need right now. What you need is to get your brand voice down because you don't know who you are. A lot of folks are just looking for something to quickly Band-Aid or solve a problem or increase revenue. And sometimes they come out of a sense of just panic and desperation. And our job is to go, hey, this is going to be all right. We're going to fix it. Let's start small. Like I say, this is the one problem. So we triage the problems of that story and then apply what we think are good solutions to that. I mean, I had a client the other day came to me as a large HVAC firm and they wanted to do all this stuff. And I said, we're not the right firm for you. I understand your story. I know a friend of mine who runs a great firm and that does that really, really well. And you'd be better suited with that based on your personality, your temperament, and what you're trying to accomplish. Could we do it? Absolutely. But could that firm do it better? I think so. Just because they're more focused. And what that does is it builds trust. It also,
integrity.
Well, it is integrity. We already do work with this other client in other departments. We want to know the story first because sometimes there might be a benefit out there. And sometimes it's not the thing that they came to us for, it's something else. Sometimes it's exactly what they came to us for.
Yeah.
It really depends on the level.
So expand on that story, because every company has its story, whether they're a new startup, whether they've been in growth stage with a founder led, whether they've then gone into CEO and the founders either died or left the company. Are those the stories that you're looking to understand to then be able to deliver the services, the multitudes of services that you do? Is that the type of thing that you're looking to delve into?
Yeah, well, we're trying to understand how they operate, what they're doing, and what headwinds they're running into that they're trying to solve. But a lot of times, it might be a CEO talking to us that understands their business, but it's disconnected from their divisions or their organization, right? Have a different story and there's another unified story. Or you're talking to a VP in charge of marketing or in charge of product or something along those lines. And their inkling where they need some of these because they have pressure from the top to solve a P&L problem, right? And so you've got to get what people's incentives and expectations are first to really understand what you're going to deliver. And sometimes it's a little more time just drawing out that person to have a longer conversation, but you will get there. And once you do have that, you come back and go, this is what I heard you say. This is where I hear you want to be. And here are some ideas for how we can get you there. And then we always start, like I said, with that small here's one thing that we can start with first that we need to get right. And so I like the flywheel concept from Jim Collins. You start getting that rhythm and that speed and momentum and mass growing, and that helps. But you can't really get there. You have to find that right starting point. Not to echo Simon Sinek, you do have to know what their why is. Why are you really doing this? Why is this solving it? So a lot of times people come to us for something and they don't know why. They just want to solve what they feel is an existential problem, and they don't look at the real reason.
So something else I've read a little while ago, you said you're a salesperson at heart. It sounds like you're trying to solve your clients' problems by helping them with the areas either they think they need, or after you've done the strategy session, understood the brand inside, what you think they actually need. At your core, do you think yourself as a salesperson?
I think sales is a result of understanding people's problems and trying to solve them. I really think sales has got such a maligned position over life, my lifetime, where people think it's about getting people to get to yes. Such a manipulated, a skill manipulation that people are thinking it is, and that's why people hate salespeople. They think they're trying to be manipulated, and that's why you want to get to know fast. You want to go, hey, this is what we do, but you don't want to. Oh, totally understand. Great, there's no problem for me to solve here. But if you start from the side, I'm here to solve a problem that you might have, or you come to me for a problem. Let's work on that problem together, and you become a partner. Sales is easy at that point, because if you're solving people's problems or presenting an avenue for it, we even had a client where we came up with a whole plan and they said, we're going to do this internally. Great. That's fine. The bummer that you did all this free consulting for you, but our goal is not just to make money. Our goal is to solve a problem. And if you don't think we're the right people to implement that for you, that's fair. 99% of the time, when you come with a plan and you show competency and you show that you've done it before, people are going to buy it. So sales has come naturally. Once, I think we close about 75% of all our sales leads that come in the door, just because 75, 80, just because we're sitting there and we're listening. And I think a lot of salespeople do a lot better job if they get into a meeting and just shut their mouth. I remember when I first did healthcare sales when I was 19, his name. Mr. Humphreys was my boss in South Carolina. And he says, when you're in a meeting and you're showing all the solutions and somebody brings out their checkbook or starts writing down calculations, that's when you just be quiet, because you don't need to convince people. You've already solved the problem. And I think a lot of times people in meetings keep talking and keep talking. And I times I message from my account manager in the middle of me. I'm like, we're here for them. We're not here for us. We're here for them. And I think that's the majority of problem in the sales with a lot of organizations is they're so excited about trying to sell their product, or they need to sell the product. People smell that a mile away. They don't think you actually hear them or care about them. They're just, this guy's just here to sell me. And they're right.
And you're building trust though, Dusty, aren't you? It feels like that's the key element for your business. Like you said, the opportunity where somebody got the consultation and then said, we'll implement it internally. Yeah, it's a bummer, but they're more likely to come back to you with the next problem because you build that trust with them.
100%. There are some bad actors out there, but they're few and far between. But I think at the end of the day, this is why I don't believe in hockey stick. Trust takes time. Trust can't hockey stick. It will never hockey stick. It'll be broken. Here's the thing. Even if you have two great actors on the end and they're like, let's do it. It breaks down because you can't absorb their needs and their expectations fast enough to really understand them. So I'd rather plod along and grow and need to make millions. It's a great life. I'm extremely privileged.
And just on that, like you wear it as a badge of pride that you've never taken investment, you've never taken funding, 25 years worth of growth. Why did you never take investment?
But that's the fun thing. Most people who are investing these days want to invest in someone that shows them the hockey stick, and I never should. But uh, I show, hey, we can build a long, sustaining company over a long period. Problem with PE today and angel investors, they're not in it for you. They're in it for their money growing rapidly. They want to. The only thing you think of, first thing I think of is a good opportunity. The thing of is how they exit the opportunity. There's no, very few are in the support of them, and the people that are in support of the organization they invest is to get to that exit. So if you're constantly being forced to think about, it's not thinking about your client, you're thinking about how do I get that P&L bump? How do I get the EBITDA up? And people don't want to invest in slow growth companies. Even the slow growth service companies, the people that are investing in them are trying to bundle them so they can sell them, right? You look at PEs rolling up HVACs, rolling up, dental practices, rolling up all these firms. They don't care about the business's long-term viability. They care about an exit. And I talked to some people that wanted to invest, and to be honest, they're not aligned with the same values. Their values are completely different. I'm very wary of an investor unless it's, someone that has money that they don't care about, being tied up for a long period of time. But that's what the bank is for.
Yeah. And I've had people on my show that have said, when you start a business, the most important thing is to know your exit. So this is not a PE company investing on a 5-year term, and at the end they want to sell it for a massive profit. This is people starting businesses now, and they're telling you, you should know your exit straight away. What do you say to them?
Well, when I was 23 and I started this business, I just wanted my bills. That was my immediate concern. I have a hard time with that because it's the same PE mentality in a business. I understand thinking about your exit and where you're going, and eventually I'll exit. But I'm young; I have years ahead of me. Right now, I'm just enjoying building the business and serving clients and doing that. If you're building a business, your exit's fine; it's secured. There are some things that might come in there and trip you up. I think an exit's part of what you think about, but it's not your primary thing. I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I think the most important thing is what are you offering your potential client that will help them be better at what they're doing? It's the most important.
And you've acquired 5 companies.
Yep.
So what were those conversations like? Because these guys, were they wanting to exit, or did you have the conversation that you thought you could help build their company through acquisition?
Every one of them wanted to exit for sure. Their businesses were out there. We hired an M&A guy who manages just looking for companies for us all the time. He's looking now, always looking for one that meets. We have very strict profiles at everything from structure, culture, tool sets, and everything they use. But everybody we did acquire over time was, yeah, they all wanted to exit. And I've learned different lessons from each one of them, and they've all been very different. There's no one that just fits the bill. You think you figured it out, then you buy another one, and they're like, oh, that's a different problem in here. So they're all choose your own adventure acquisitions. I'm grateful for them all. I've learned a lot. It's not been easy for sure.
Do you think digital transformation done by bigger companies, that you've got the big 4 and you've got these other huge companies that are selling this digital transformation, do you think is actually a bit of a scam, that they're just trying to push you into the next technology?
I can't speak for people's intentions, whether it's a scam or not. I do think a lot of these larger digital transformation firms, especially if they're on the stock market or they have PE backed, the pressure is not about helping you. The pressure is about selling, right? You always you've got to look at what the incentives of whoever you're dealing with is. And yes, there's always an incentive to sell, but I'm always wary of the latest, greatest trend. I've been burned so many times for trying different things, even with AI, people are all up in arms about. I use it quite a bit, and I don't see that happening. I think a lot of these big firms like Anthropic and OpenAI, they say all these things because they need to pop up their stock price. You want everybody to lose their jobs, so everyone has. I think you've got to read between the lines in a lot of these organizations. And there's some really large companies out there that do some great work. I think it's highly inflated work. A lot of work busy work that doesn't need to be done. So I do have a bit of a cynical streak with me when it comes to the big five consulting firms out there.
I worked with some of them for 14 years, so I can see both sides. They do. They absolutely do. Especially for large companies, they do. Just the size and the ability to cross culture and across different locations, they can definitely do some great work. But one of the biggest bugbears that I've got with management consultants is the whole thing of writing this beautiful report, handing it over, been in the company for 6 to 8 weeks, and then they run off and go, look, there's the book, you deal with it now. For you, it seems like you are very contrarian to that, and you want to help build something. And you mentioned earlier about partnerships rather than sort of like client relationships. It's more of a partnership that you're working with these companies. Like, it seems to be embedded in your company and your values that you're creating partnerships. And that's probably why you've got clients that stay with you for over a decade.
Yeah. Well, before we rebranded to Tectonic, we were called The Resources, and our brand slogan was strategy delivered. We really, truly believe that. I guess that's where my cynicism came with the big five and even other just consulting firms is strategy looks great on a slide deck. Just like Norman Schwarzkopf said about war, all your plans for war are thrown out the window. Keep guns, start firing. Yeah. But the fog of war is different. And the same with business, once you start implementing it, and no plan's foolproof. And the reason why it's not foolproof is because there's humans involved in it, and humans really do change the value set and the expectations. So I really firmly believe if we're going to give someone a strategy, we're going to implement it and own it with them and walk through it with them. And secondly, I don't know why firms would ever hire someone to do strategy and go to another vendor to implement it. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
That vendor doesn't understand that. They didn't do all that discovery work.
They weren't there in the strategy conversations, were they? Yeah.
The whole notion of if you're not in the room, how dare you implement it? It's kind of one thing for the company to go out and ask another firm to go out without actually, hold on. And we have people come to us and go, hey, we have this strategy. We just did it. We want you to implement it. And we're like, we're absolutely not going to do that. And they're like, why? I said, well, you need to understand first what the strategy is, what you're trying to accomplish. So we redo a discovery with them, even if it's a smaller one. We can use some of the other work. A lot of the strategy work that we've seen come to us is just shoddy and not thought through. And a lot of those folks don't have the experience of implementing any of that strategy. So there's all these assumptions in it that are just ludicrous. Everything, people go similar to people that buy and build a bunch of stuff in AI and they're going, hey, the product I want to launch. I'm like, absolutely not. Have you thought about enterprise level? Have you talked about DevOps? Have you talked about how's your customer support going to be for it? I mean, all these things that come through and they're like, but I have this MVP here. I'm like, AI is great for prototyping and MVP stuff just to see if it works. Beautiful. It's wonderful, but it's not, and you will not survive in the wild. It's like a young baby on the Sahara that has broken legs. It just will not work. I think that's a lot of things with companies that just do strategy. They just never had that experience going through a full life cycle. And really the support and maintenance of a solution is really at the heartbeat. And that's my problem with nonprofits. A lot of nonprofits chunk of money to do a big project, but they never operationalize it.
Yeah.
They never go, okay, how are we going to support this for the next 5, 10 years?
Yeah.
Simple thing.
Yeah. If you made it this far through the episode and you're enjoying it, please do consider joining our community on Patreon for behind the scenes and exclusive content. All you need to do is go to patreon.com/business growth talks. So tech companies talk about and are obsessed with innovation. Do you think this is actually helping or hindering the tech industry?
Hang. I think there's a problem with words like transformation, innovation. Eventually lose their punch, right? What does it mean to innovate anymore? They've been using that word since 2000. I think it just doesn't mean anything anymore. What is innovation? And you can't say that really well without actually knowing what they're doing. Usually when we come into a company and they want to do a transformation, I'm like, a transformation is about understanding where you're at and what do you want to look like afterwards. And a lot of companies need the help of walking through that process. So I think people want to innovate. I think people want to grow. I think people want all of that, but they don't know how to get there. And so I think that's why those words lose their power. People don't want to take time to understand, figure these things out. But when a tech company says, hey, we innovate, everybody innovates. Everyone's constantly trying to. They're trying to do things all the time. I mean, there's like 6,000 AI firms that just got founded this year. I mean, of course, everyone. But what does that mean? I don't want to be cynical about it. It's fine those buzzwords. It's just another part of the business. They want to leverage their innovation to synergize some,
Oh, there's a lot of jargon buzzwords that get thrown about, as I say, like synergy and pivot and transformation and innovate. Like after they're used so many times, it becomes less relevant. It just during COVID, everyone was pivoting. Did you notice?
The word today is AI native.
Yeah.
What is that? You're not AI native. You have a cloud account. You don't even know what AI, Anthropic's AI native.
Yeah.
OpenAI is AI native. It's all. No one knows what that means. I mean, it's just a marketing term. I don't know. I have a hard time, Mark, with that stuff.
That's fair enough. I think you're right. I think the cynicism is perfectly valid because, as you say, like a lot of these companies, like it is interestingly you mentioned about what you're doing with AI now. What's your outlook of AI and how it's helping your clients? What are you doing with AI?
It worked really, really well, and the one company that's understand this really, really well. Really pride. AI is deterministic. It only can work on what it knows. And it's a company like, hey, I want to do AI in our company. Well, let's look at the foundations, especially from how you're managing processes. AI only works so well as how you have governance for your content, and then you have your process documented. It'll spit out the quality based on what you have. Yeah. And so we try to talk to clients first about the most boring word, governance. How are you managing? How is it structured? How are people accessing it? How is it being updated? How is it being transformed through the process of your business? What are the processes by which a piece of content gets into your organization? Be it a proposal. When I say content, I'm not talking marketing. I'm talking about proposals, specs, project management, documentation, all of these things. Because when you tell me, hey, I want to speed up the delivery of our service, I'm like, all right, understand your process for delivering. And a lot of organizations can't really articulate that they can talk about it in broad streets, we get the thing from here and we go, point A to point B. But the sub processes are really important. And that's how you understand automation really well. The other thing is clients understand that it's a probabilistic / deterministic tool. In the sense that it's not going to solve the hard problem you're trying to think through. Yeah, it'll give you whatever it sees in the world. You can ask the same question to Anthropic 5 different times in 5 different sessions, 5 different answers, because it's not this is not the right answer. And trying to convince clients that it's not going to solve your problems is so hard.
Mhm.
And saying, you want to do this, let's start small again. Start small. Let's find a process that's well documented from A to Z, that content is in good shape, and then we can see what we can do there. So one, automation is the biggest thing in very clear transactional processes. We use it quite extensively for our proposal development. We have a whole workflow for that and how it comes into our organization. Every transcript we ever have gets put into our second brain from the company, and we create all the linkage, everything you need to do. So that being said, it's one big thing. The other thing that we try to do with AI is helping clients understand not just the automation side, but your biggest value, your biggest expense your company is the high ticket employee, right? That makes $100,000 to $200,000 a year. Talk to them about what is bottlenecking them.
Yeah.
Understand your employees more than anything, because those are the people that you really want to go in and say, hey, let's add this process for AI. And it can be just a co-work tool. It can be just a skill. It doesn't have to be big. And trying to people to think small about using AI will have bigger results. And so
It's iteration, it's incremental improvements that it can do.
it's innovation,
Just-
Mark.
It's innovation. That's what it is. It's innovation.
Pivot and leverage.
Dusty, how do you think you've evolved as a leader over these decades at the top of Tectonic?
Being a CEO is a pretty lonely position. You're the only one that, has that position. And what I've evolved is really valuing community of other CEOs has been really helpful, and being able to have conversations with other folks in a trusted environment to learn from them. Big shout out to Carl Smith at the Bureau. It's a great community of digital CEOs, been really helpful and informative in our organization as far as we've been growing. Overall, for me personally, I think one of two ways you can go as you grow just in life personally is when you encounter opposition, you can either avoid it, go around it, or go through it. And the only way you can go through it is with humility. You get humbled quite a bit when you make mistakes, and I have my fair share. And I think having humility with the helping of gratitude has helped me grow more and more as CEO. Like I said, I moved from that whole notion of speak to me in bullet points because I didn't value people's time. I valued my time, and that's not humility. That's arrogance. And so over time, as I moved from that speak to me in bullet points to, hey, I want to sit down and take the time to hear your story, be it an employee, be it a client. That's where the natural outpouring of that is people trust you more and give you more opportunities. What I didn't do as a sales thing, it's just you want to be more human as you grow. And you can either, like I said, maintain your arrogance and your time is more valuable, and you're just going to have broken relationships in that world.
It's values, Dusty. It's values.
Yeah, absolutely. You have that foundation,
moral and the integrity. Like more business people should have those values of serving clients, serving their employees. As a CEO, you need to look after your employees better than your clients, because in most cases they look after the clients.
Yep.
If you do those things, you'll grow a business. It might, as you say, it might not be the hockey stick mentality, but you won't burn through people, and you'll grow something that will last. And you're living proof of 25 plus years with Tectonic.
Yeah, I would say our average employee's been here for 14 years. That's brilliant for the last gen. So,
look, we're coming to the end of the interview. I ask the same 6 questions to all my guests. So quick fire questions. They don't need a quick fire answer. First question is, what's the best decision you've made?
it's always hiring good people. It's always the best decisions. Like you said, I have a term for a company. It's people, processes, and then platforms, and that order. And people are 80% of your business. Processes are another 15%. Platforms are 5%. It doesn't really matter. Sales or whatever. They're all tools, but the people are the foundation of your business. You don't have good people, you don't have a business.
100%. What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
A lot of advice out there. Best piece of advice, personally, is not to dwell and ruminate on the failures, and not to catastrophize the future, because those things will immobilize you. You can't move forward if you're constantly thinking about failures. They'll fill your brain. You won't be creative. And if you fear the future, I mean, as I get older, you have different fears, right? You have fears now for your children.
Yeah.
You constantly anguish over their decisions, but at the same time, you got to let it go, and you just got to deal with now.
I listened to this social media post by a guy called Jake Humphreys, and he said that the best sports people, and he was referring to tennis, the best tennis players, to be able to be in the top 5, you need to be able to, in tennis, if you lose a point, you need to reset very, very quickly and then play the next point. And he said that's the level of high performance. And being a high performer is the fact that, yes, we all make mistakes, but you need to be able to put your ego aside, drop it. It's not all about you, and get on to the next point. I thought it was a really interesting concept. It sounds like you
It's very
live
much
by.
I don't think you have any other choice, because the problem with living in the past is you can't deal with the present. And the problem about fearing the future is you can also deal with the present that impacts the future. So I think Albert Einstein said all time is now. And, there's no past, no present, no future. It's now. And I think he's 100% right. You have to live.
Next question. Who's the person that's helped you most in your career?
Oof. I'm a person of faith. I would say I spend a lot of time in prayer and reading the Bible and understanding is on that. And I would say that my relationship with God is probably the most impactful, the most personal, and it's the most transformative for me. The reason why is that you can be vulnerable with yourself and you can be in that place. But as a human on this earth, I would say it's a lot of people. It takes, it takes a village of people to really impact you. And so I would say, our M&A guy has been very helpful. I've been known him for 15, almost maybe 20 years now. John Burley's been really good, really expert guy in helping us through acquisitions that have impacted your company. I think my family and my kids have been extremely impactful for me for work, especially my son that was dealing with a lot of struggles when 8th grade. It taught me to slow down. A lot of that empathy development. I think the people closest to you are the most impactful, whether you realize it or not. And it's important with who you surround yourself with. But I would say my kids have been extremely impactful to me, changing me.
Brilliant. Tell me about a regret that you have.
I really don't want to think about them, to be quite honest. There's so many things that could have changed or impacted it. You don't really have, they're not valuable. I think spending less time with your kids is a regret. I think you'll never get those. How do you spend your time? That's probably my biggest regret. And I check myself sometimes. I want to do this. I'm like, is this how I want to spend my time? If I look back on this, will this be a good expenditure of my time? And I say it all comes back to how you spend time. And I look back on, man, I was so selfish with my time there. What a waste. I could have had a better impact, better relationship, deeper relationship with X person, X family member, etc. So that's my regret. It's not spending the time correctly.
I think whatever stage you're at in your growth and your business, You have to realize what's most important. And the business is important. There's no getting away from it. As you said, like at the start, you got to have a business to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Equally, you miss an opportunity and someone passes, you miss an opportunity and someone moves, you miss an opportunity and a relationship goes. You really should be focusing on people, because it doesn't matter if it's business or personal, people are what make life worth living.
I mean, at the end of the day, you've seen all those stupid memes on Instagram. Not stupid, but they're really poignant. Like people at the end of their life where they say, my one regret is that I did not, optimize my KPIs. You're not going to think about it. What you're going to think about, and the older I get, the more I think about it is like, will my kids be equipped to be able to handle the storms that will 100% encounter in their lives? We all get storms. Have I been able to give them some good foundation for things? Or, I go to sleep tonight and go, I hope that client doesn't hate us because this didn't, I told them, the truth. Or, you don't want a client to go off the rails. You think about all these things all the time, and you can't worry about them, but you do ponder them, and you got to put them in their box. Their businesses is not central. I really truly believe whatever you do, whether you're a craftsman or you run a business or you work in a company, it's an outgrowth of who you are. It reflects you as a person. So I think that's really telling for some people.
I agree. Was there a time that you wanted to give up, and what made you pull through?
Oh, sure. Many times you want to give up. I think, when in 2008, 2009, when we had that big, financial crisis in the States, that was problematic. It's about almost 35% of our clients couldn't pay their bills. They just stopped. And at that point, I don't know how this would work. This is where good employees come in. I told everybody, this is where we're at. What we're doing. I didn't fire anybody. I pulled out all our lines of credit. I didn't lay off anybody. And I said, we're just going to have to slog through this. We did. It took us until 2012 until we fully came out of that tunnel. And, paid back our debts, and we're in good shape. So yeah, I would say that was a big one. That was probably the biggest one. You have those periods of time where you're just tired, conflicts and expectations are missed, or, we acquired a company back in 2023 that the main person in that company turned out to be just a horrible part of the team. We did everything trying to turn that person into like a team player, and they were in leadership, and eventually after 11 months, it was a big risk. We had millions of dollars that that person managed, and we fired that person, and it was the best thing we ever did. I remember I was sleeping maybe 4 or 5 hours a night max during those 11 months, and then the day I fired it, the next day I slept like 10 hours. Sorely.
And again, it's back to people. The
It's back
importance of
people.
Always.
Or everything or nothing. It's I hate the cliche, but it's true. You want to hire slow and fire fast.
Yeah.
It's 100% true. Nothing like a cancer in your company.
Yeah. Tell me something that most people don't know about you.
Most people don't know about me. Oh, well. A lot of people tell me the past. My wife says I can be pretty intimidating and just kind of fill the room when I'm in a room with I'm thinking all the time. I think out loud and all that. I'm pretty much a cuddly teddy bear. I'm pretty much a softie in a lot of things, and that takes time. I think the problem with being a CEO is everybody is fearful of you, unfortunately. Fortunately and unfortunately. It's good to go, okay, there's someone that's going to be an authority figure. in your life. But I think at the same time, um, I'm pretty approachable, dude.
I found you very approachable, Dusty, to be honest. I would not, I would, I like the idea that you think not everyone thinks you're a big softie, but people who get to know you and understand you, I think would see beyond any sort of exterior wall that you've put up. You
Yeah,
have,
I don't think I have a. I do think I'm very much a matter of fact person. I think that's kind of intimidating sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
Or I'll just be like,
I
that's
love that in people.
yeah,
People who pander around and just waste your time with things that just are irrelevant. I like the no BS. I like the no BS, and
yeah,
at least you know where you stand. That's the way I
yeah,
see it. At least you know where you stand with that person.
yeah. And the thing is, people have, like I said, they're a collection of their own fears and
Yeah,
expectations, right?
yeah,
And so it's hard to navigate that. And sometimes, I took a test. We have a corporate psychologist that we work with in our firm for our C-suite, and we did a big test a while ago, and my wife looked at it, and she's like, "Yep, that score's right." She's like, "You score high in leadership, but your empathy is the lowest level." I'm like, damn it. And it tends to be a pretty big trend for a lot of leaders that are A-type personalities that they don't take the time. I think it's not that they're not empathetic, is they don't take the time.
yeah,
And, I find I have to think and slow down because sometimes I trip over my words as they come out of my head because I'm trying to get a lot out. And nothing like marriage to correct that problem.
yeah. A good woman keeps you in line, definitely. And the last question is, what does legacy mean to you?
Oh, that's a great. I've been thinking about that quite a bit lately. It's a hard one. I would say the immediate legacy is my kids living their life in a way that is reflective of grace and kindness. That's a legacy I would really like to see. That their life is not about them alone and not about their kids. It's about the people around them. I truly believe the older I get that being a community is the number one thing, is the cure for a lot of things, for loneliness, for arrogance, for all kinds of things. If you're in a community where you can be transparent and be known, I think everybody wants to be known. I think that's the fundamental need of everybody. Um, from like even by Maslow's hierarchy. So my legacy is my kids being in a position where they can be in a community to know people and be known. That'd be wonderful. I would dispel a lot of fear for them.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Dusty, for this conversation. I've really, really enjoyed it. I really have. That's it for all of you guys. If you've taken something from this conversation, the best thing you can do if you're enjoying this content is hit the subscribe button wherever you listen or you watch. It genuinely helps more people find the show. And if you're on YouTube, consider hitting the like button. Drop a comment below what your biggest takeaway was today. And if you're on Spotify or Apple, drop me a 5-star review if you've enjoyed this content. It really does make a big difference. And also share it with somebody that you think needs to hear what Dusty shared about values, about business growth, about being a good person. Thank you so much, Dusty. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone. And I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate it.